it appears like they're helpful because they get me through a difficult moment, but what they're really doing is keeping me out of being present in the moment by relying on some ancient tape, basically, that might save time. Like it does, it is a shortcut. It gets me to a certain place faster. But am I really experiencing the nectar of the moment? No, I'm not, because it's a pre, you know, it's a pre-established routine.
It's slowing down. It's really paying attention, sensing kind of what's going on in the moment, and letting something come to you rather than you going to something that
Right,
you already know the outcome of.
right.
Real clients, real challenges, and the ideas that make a difference. This is Mental Tension Coaching with Rich Life. So one of my clients and I were talking about an idea of shortcuts. And I think it's really powerful because if you really understand it, then you're going to be able to live life in a very different way. You're not going to take the easy way out all of the time. And it's just something that it's a big problem, I feel like, but it's a hidden one. And so I have my one of my clients on, Scott, is going to join us today. Thank you, Scott.
Well, thank you for having me. And yes, I think this shortcut approach is really powerful. What occurs to me about it, so many things, but one of the things that really struck me when you first brought it up is that, you know, the shortcuts which I've developed in my lifetime mostly came out of a state of being sort of overwhelmed or um, scared or just unsure of myself, insecure. It could be any number of things, but they all reduce to the same thing, which is it appears like they're helpful because they get me through a difficult moment, but what they're really doing is keeping me out of being present in the moment by relying on some ancient tape, basically, that might save time. Like it does, it is a shortcut. It gets me to a certain place faster. But am I really experiencing the nectar of the moment? No, I'm not, because it's a pre, you know, it's a pre-established routine. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, no, I love that you kind of talk about that it's pre-established. Like it's something that we've already gone to. Like it's a road that we've already taken. So
Right,
that's kind of the draw to it, is that we know where it goes
right.
and it's easy. That's the other nice thing. But it is not always the best way because I think we're missing out on something.
Yeah.
And and I guess I'd like to really define what we mean by a shortcut. So a shortcut is kind of like a mental idea, a technique, a belief, a formula. It's anything that makes it easier for you to just kind of stay in this autopilot space.
Yes. Right.
Would you add anything to that, Scott?
I think that sums it up beautifully. And I think that that's why it's so alluring, because it gives us sort of a pass on having to actually come up with something. We just rely on something that we already knew worked in the past. It feels safe, feels comfortable, but it comes at a giant price, which is actually living in that moment as separate from folding it into a past moment. You know what I mean? We're
Hmm.
sacrificing this moment because we're reliving something.
Yeah, we kind of can get lost in that. The other challenging thing is that I feel like shortcuts are usually trying to get us away from something rather than to something.
Hmm.
They're trying to get us away from insecurity, pain,
Yeah.
suffering.
Yeah. I think you're
And
absolutely right.
that's definitely, we don't want to be in those states. So it's very understandable that we would start to take these shortcuts. And I think that there's a certain invitation that we can feel called to do. And I kind of called you to do this. And that was to take the long way around.
Right.
Or in other words, take the scenic route. And that one's a little bit different. That one's more through an act of presence. It's slowing down. It's really paying attention, sensing kind of what's going on in the moment, and letting something come to you
Right.
rather than you going to something that
Right.
you already know the outcome of.
Right. That's a beautiful way of phrasing it. I love the scenic route metaphor because that really emphasizes that it's fresh terrain, you know, that
Mhm.
you're daring to walk down a completely new path. It's scary and it's vulnerable, but really, how else are you going to grow, you
Yeah.
know, if you don't take that chance?
So, Scott, have you tried it out at all in the last couple of days since our last
Yeah,
session?
I feel that I have been because I feel like in my interactions with people, I've been letting there be a little bit more space before I react, you know, instead of going to my default ways where I might have responded to a situation. I'm just kind of giving myself um, some space to actually not go with the normal reactions that I've gone with, you know, maybe hundreds of times before in those kinds of situations. It's kind of funny when you start to realize. I mean, I should only speak for myself, but I'm starting to see how much I've been doing that. The more I've been opening up this space, it's only just a little bit of space you have to give yourself, you know, to let yourself land on a different reaction. But I'm really enjoying it. I want to do it a lot more because what I'm discovering, I think, is that it actually is sort of, um, I don't really know if you can be fully present. I really want to learn to be present. That's what I've discovered.
Me too.
And it sounds so easy to say, just be present. Well, it's not that easy because of these shortcuts. It's one way of looking at it, you know, that we're so used to taking that kind of interfere with us just letting, like you said, it's not necessarily even an active thing. It's more of a surrendering and letting stuff happen, giving space for stuff to happen. You don't have to be the doer all the time, you know? I think I had this idea that I had to react all the time. And, you know, what's so neat about this approach is it takes that a little bit off the table. You don't have to react. You can just be. And in just being, something will get revealed to you that might be completely fresh.
This is really cool because one of the things that you said was like I'm just riddled with shortcuts. Like you just felt like
Oh, yeah.
you only used shortcuts in the past.
Yeah.
And that can kind of get you to a certain place.
Right.
Like I think that it's better than nothing. Like it really is. We can start to use these different techniques, whether it's like a meditation technique or just like a thought-based technique or anything like that. Anything that's kind of preset like that. Like
Hmm.
if this happens, then I'm going to say my mantras or I'm
Right.
going to count to 10, something like that.
Sure.
Um,
No, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but my career required, I used to have to do a lot of email correspondence. And so I actually developed um, hundreds of canned responses to try to save time, where I tried to come up with every possible contingency and I'd already have a canned response that I pull from, and then I might just slightly modify it. And I thought I was so clever for doing this, but that's a shortcut. Now it might have it, it had its merit for efficiency in the workplace, but it still came at a price, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is that when I started doing that so much of my work and finding it helpful, that's when I think I started to really develop shortcuts for everything, even just out in my personal relationships.
Yeah. It's very kind of safe. Like
Yes.
if I know that I've got a response in the background ready that I can kind of hand pick. And a lot of the times, like, we're replaying conversations with other people, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to figure out the shortcuts, the things that we could have done differently,
Right.
or what we're going to take into the next conversation. And it does save energy. So the mind really is a shortcut machine, especially your intellectual ego mind.
Right.
It is designed to make really quick judgments, especially in the wilds when had to make life and death decisions. Right. It was really helpful to have a shortcut, to have an idea of, okay, that's a tiger and this is what it sounds like. Right. And if I hear that sound, this is what I do.
Right.
And that's just becomes so limiting, because I bet in your job it became very rote and routine.
Oh yeah.
Like almost like mind numbing.
Yeah. It kind of drove me crazy, I think.
Yeah.
And it eventually led me to get to a place where I had to get out of that situation because it was so soul crushing. And yet I built that soul crushing one.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny, but tragic at the same time. And the thing that's really interesting is that I think as adults, we can pull off our shortcuts in our interactions with other adults more easily because we're all sort of used to it. We're all sort of used to everybody being sort of on autopilot. But I've noticed that with little kids especially, they don't buy it. They can tell whether you are using a shortcut or not, I think.
Yeah, their shortcut detectors are on high alert, and
right.
Yeah, that it does kind of take a little bit of the soul out of things when we're just on autopilot like that.
Totally.
And also there's another challenge, because if we don't have a canned response, or we meet a situation that calls for something different that we never expected, which that happens all of the time in life.
Right.
Then we're really reeling from that. We don't know how to handle it. And it can really throw us off. But if we kind of make a habit out of trying this long way around approach, like just slowing down and seeing what the moment really wants to offer to us, and listening. I think listening is really what taking the long way around is like, taking the scenic route. You don't just go straight there. You are taking in the view. Usually it's a beautiful view on the scenic route. So sometimes in life the route's not that beautiful, but taking it in, listening to it, and then going from there.
I really love that. That's beautiful the way you say that, because I think that how else can you really cultivate the type of intimacy that all of us crave, other than by doing what you just described? The shortcuts are really intimacy killers, but we don't even realize it.
Wow. That it's just a shame too that we've all done that We've all
Yeah.
taken part. We've all
Right.
murdered the connection that we have with other people. No, we didn't mean to do it. And
No, it's all innocent.
yeah, yeah. But still, we can learn from it and start to
Yes.
grow
Yeah.
and start to slow down. And it's just a difference in the approach. And it's a really cool thing to notice and really see and take a look at your life. Like, where am I just really kind of taking the path of least resistance
Yeah.
is really another way to
Right.
describe it. Where am I taking the path of least resistance? And is that truly the best path for me? Because you do get rewarded for having a little bit of patience here. Like
Totally.
they did this experiment with, they give these kids a cookie, and if they wouldn't eat it, they tell them that if I'm going to leave, and in 5 minutes, if I come back, if you don't eat it, I'm going to give you two cookies. And in this experiment, they tracked these children after they've gathered all of the data and the results. And they found that the kids who waited earlier, who were better at that, they did better in life. They
Yeah.
did better in their careers. And it's this delay of gratification.
Right.
And so I think that plays out here too. If you can kind of delay the gratification of taking this shortcut, you are really opening yourself up to something that might be 10 times better.
Yeah. I totally agree. Because it's not even a doubling, it is a tenfold or a hundredfold, really.
Yeah.
It's the opportunity to really go from having a kind of dry and drab existence to a super vital, transformative one. I mean,
Mhm.
that's priceless,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, it's really every addiction that people have is a shortcut, a way of solving, getting away from challenging problems. Every bad habit, every kind of quick little thing that you're just going to do in your head to get away from a situation,
Right.
to flee. It is a fleeing.
It is.
You're
Such a good point.
escaping.
That's the funny thing about it, is that we keep running from just sitting with what is.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I can't quite understand why we are such paradoxical beings that we do this. You know, we keep thinking that these shortcuts are going to lead to greater satisfaction, even though they never really do.
Mhm. Yeah. It's just like they come up empty so many times. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten on Facebook to just distract myself
Right.
from stress or overwhelm and come up empty.
Yeah.
You spend 15 minutes or maybe even 2 hours, maybe you go on a binge,
Right.
and at the end of it, you have nothing to show for it.
It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
I think this is really, I mean, I think what you're describing to me is the central challenge of being a human,
Mm.
because it is weird that we have the consciousness that we have that allows us to choose how we are going to, whether we're going to take the scenic route or not. We have the free will to make that choice. But it's just so weird to me that that's constantly being challenged again and again and again, like you said. And I don't really know the answer because we keep getting tugged. The tugging to take the shortcut is not going to go away, I don't think.
Mhm.
Is it?
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe we can find a space. I do think that there are times when we are really expansive, when it doesn't make sense to us to take the shortcut, when we are in a very high level of
Right.
consciousness,
Right. That
then
makes
it
sense.
doesn't make sense. But of course, when we get to a lower level of consciousness, it becomes so much more alluring,
Yeah.
so much more attractive to take it. It's almost a necessity. It's almost begging for you to
Yeah.
go that way.
Right.
And it's the same thing, like our neurology is made this way. It's got these grooves in our
Right.
mind, and they say that, neurons that fire together wire together. So you've
Right.
got these well-worn paths, these shortcuts, and making new neural connections is a part of going a different way.
Right. Now, that's a really, really good point.
Mhm.
But then I would ask you this because you really have clarified something for me. That really rings true for me, that it is a function of our state of consciousness.
Mhm.
But then the question is, though, let's say I am totally committed to wanting to take the scenic path, and I want to do that as much as possible. What would you suggest when I'm in a low state of consciousness?
Mhm. Yeah, if you get into a low mood, it's going to seem more challenging to take the scenic route. It's going to seem like it's impossible sometimes. I think that even if you can just slow down a little bit, even just like 1%, add 1% more presence to whatever it is. And sometimes that's going to make more sense to do than others. Sometimes you'll remember to do it. And if you forget, that's okay. But really see if it's possible. I think that's the biggest thing, is to really question the idea, because your thoughts are going to tell you it's not possible. It's not doable. But to really question those.
Yeah, because I think that's really well said. I think for me, anyways, it comes down to when I'm in a state where I feel like I just don't have the bandwidth to take
Mhm.
the long way.
Yeah.
I just feel so depleted. I gotta take my shortcut.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that that's when I most need to not take the shortcut.
Hmm. Yeah. And you might take the shortcut, and that's okay. Like it's not a horrible thing. It's not because you are a bad person or
Right.
because you're messed up or you're wrong deep down inside. It's just because that's what made the most sense. So I think having a lot of grace for yourself when you come out of it, and seeing if you can kind of catch some of those early warning signals that your mood is lowering. And really, that's the time to try and take the scenic route,
Hmm.
is to, like, a lot of the times when I'm in that low state and it just feels like I just need to be in my head thinking about it and
Yes.
figuring it out. That's really when I need to slow down. So I'll give myself space. I won't I'll kind of clear my my schedule a little bit. And maybe not even clear my schedule, but like I won't listen to podcasts while I'm walking the dogs. Or while I'm trying to go to sleep, I won't listen to my audiobook. And try to be, I'll just try to be more present.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference for me. And I invite you and everyone else to experiment with that, because it's a really great thing to experiment with. And you want to just have as much, I guess, maybe not practice is the word, but maybe as much comfort as you can, so that when those big things come up, it seems like a better and better idea.
Yeah. Now that makes a lot of sense because I think that's one thing I've discovered that's helped me to, experiment with not taking shortcuts, by taking the scenic path. What I discovered is that if you can just do it once in a time where you're in a low mood, that plants the seed for the next time and the next time and the next time and the next time. You just have to, if you can just pull it off once, now you have that as a frame of reference going forward,
Yeah.
you know?
And the only thing is to resist the urge to not make it a new shortcut.
Exactly.
I
That's a
think
good point.
I think the mind is just like trying to make it a formula, and
Yeah.
it's constantly doing that. So when you did that, you just were able to allow. It wasn't because of any particular thought that you had or any particular thing you did, activity. That's a lot of what shortcut people want to something to do.
Yeah.
And if they have something to do, either mentally or physically, then that's gonna be what they're gonna go to.
Right.
But it's more about, like you said, being.
Yeah. I like that.
Cool. Well, Scott and I, we have a great time. We coach each other, so I really appreciate you coming on today
Oh,
and
absolutely.
diving a little bit deeper into this idea with me. I really sense the power in it, and I think that there's more to it that we have yet to uncover.
Yes, I totally agree. It's like layers of an onion,
Yeah,
more and more to be discovered.
yeah. But I hope we've given enough today to get us started
Yeah.
in our exploration and to deepen that a little bit in us and for other people as well.
Well, it's been a real blast. I
Yeah,
love I love our mutual inquiry in this. So thank you so much
yeah.
for encouraging it.
Thanks for joining, Scott.
All right. Take care.
Real clients, real challenges, and the ideas that make a difference. This is Mental Tension Coaching with Rich Life.